Eamon Duff, welcome to the Lifestyle Lifter Show.
How are you? You well?
Welcome on board, my man. Eamon, this one caught Evan Daly a bit by surprise on my last guest episode. So I'm going to ask you the same opener I ask everyone, man. Share
Go on.
something about yourself that most people do not know.
Oh, that is a good one. See, that's a hard one because I'm fairly well like an open book, like with everything I post and stuff like that.
Your
There's very
content
little
is
people.
very authentic.
Yeah, like there's very little I don't post. Something people don't know about me. Um, I would say maybe that actually now if I say my following has grown a lot in the lately, do you know what I mean? So maybe people haven't followed me for so long, but I would say that I used to be a plasterer years ago. Well, not years ago, it's only last year I actually gave it up completely. But I worked on building sites for most of my life and only actually got into fitness coaching and stuff like that lately. And a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people sort of forget about that, even when they talk about it on my stories and that they'll say, like, Jesus, they forget the fact where I came from, if you know what I mean. That I haven't
Yeah.
been a coach all my life, you know.
Yeah, man, I was a teacher for 4.5 years before I went full time as well. So I
Oh,
feel a
very
lot of
good.
people are in our position and they make some kind of a segue. What
Yeah.
made you want to transition out of plastering and into coaching, Eamon?
I hated it. Every like it just wasn't a job for me. It was a thing of I when I was young, I left school. I went to college for a year, dropped out, didn't know what I wanted to do. My brother was a plasterer, like had his own business. I said, "Oh, sure, I'll work with him for a while while I'm figuring it out." And then 10 years later, I was still plastering, like, and never loved it. And it was always a thing of, "Oh, I'll find something else. I'll find something else. I'll find something else." Always was into fitness, training, nutrition, all that crack. And I always thought in my head is like, if I did that as a job, would I fall out of love with it myself? If you know what I mean? You know, you're
Yeah.
doing something every day, and I'm like,
Yes.
geez, will I end up hating fitness? Like, will I end up being like, oh, not maybe not wanting to train myself or whatever? But loads of people kept saying to me, like, I, even though I wasn't an actual coach, I still like, coached maybe some of my friends, family members, and that did up plans for them, got them in shape and stuff, even though it was just as a favor to them, like doing them up gym plans and stuff. And loads of people saying, geez, you should be doing this all the time. Like, why are you not
Yes,
doing
yeah.
this as a job, And then eventually I bit the bullet and went and did it, and fucking best thing I ever done. Absolutely happy with it.
Absolutely. Oh
Yeah.
man, I can relate to that in so many personal fronts too. Well, before I got qualified as well, you kind of become the guy aiming, don't you? Maybe in your inner circle, amongst your family, amongst a small knit group of friends, and you wonder why people are offering you money for doing something which might come second nature to you. When you made that transition, then so from the plastering to obviously coaching, you did a bit in person and then obviously a bit online aiming.
Yeah, so what happened with me, and a lot of people hated it. The best thing ever happened in my life was COVID because it gave me time to do the course, I did like a person training, nutrition course, and all that crack. And while I had a bit of time off, well, not even a bit of time off, I worked a lot during COVID on the building site as well. But it was like because the pubs were closed, you had nothing to do with the weekends, all that crack. All I did was study, research, got me qualifications and stuff, and then went into coaching and was absolutely terrified to go at it full time because it was like I was making good money where I was, and
Yeah.
it's like, will I be able to cover what I'm making? That kind of thing. So I started coaching people on the side, while I was working and stuff, and built up clients slowly but surely, and eventually had enough that I was like, right, I'm making enough at this now that I can go at it full time and give it a good rattle and see what happens.
And what was that, without sharing the specifics, was that number for you, Eamon? Like, was it okay around when I make a same or similar amount to what I'm doing plastering, you're comfortable, or was it a bit more, was it a bit less for you?
I was honestly thinking like I was making, we'll say, less than I was plastering. But
Yeah.
in my own head, what I was thinking was, if I can give it my all my
Yes.
time, I'll be able to make more. Do you know what I mean? I'll be able to give it more time to take on even more clients and that kind of thing. And even with the way I was when I was plastering stuff, because I was given that so much time, like my service improved when I had all my time to give to my
Absolutely.
clients and stuff, do you know what I mean? For accountability and all that crack. Because obviously 8 hours a day I was on a building site, do you know what I mean? So I was able to give all my time to the coaching, so I was able to improve my service, improve how I coach, do you know what I mean? And like even with referrals alone after that, then I was able to build up enough clients that,
Build up
you
a
know,
base.
we'll say now
Yeah.
without talking too much about money, like I'm making more now than I was when I was plastering, do you know what I mean? So
Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And because you actually, it's a nice segue, Eamon. It's something I wanted to touch on. So you mentioned that obviously the more time you had, the more education, the more study you're able to do, and the more you're able to invest back in your coaching. What's your own personal coaching philosophy? If we just start out with training, what are some maybe principles that you follow with yourself or with your clients that you find is currently working well?
um well, so me, it's such a small thing, but I encourage all my clients is like planning. Everything comes back to planning. So it's like if you want to hit a result, if you're like have something you're chasing and you want to get after it, you have to make time for it. Everybody is busy, everybody has busy lives and all that crack. So it's like how much, like, you'll see people will come to you and they'll be like, oh, I want to train 5 times a week, and you're like, but do you have time to do that? Do you know what I mean? There's no point in you telling me you want to train 5 times a week, then me giving you a plan with 5 training sessions a week, but you're only doing 3 this week and 4 next week, and you're not hitting the 5 sessions. So I say everybody sit down and plan out your week. Like we'll say use Google Calendar or whatever. Write down the hours you're working. Everybody has work. Do you know what I mean? That's the first thing that goes into the calendars. All the hours you're working. The next one then is whatever's the next. I say like everyone has 5 or 6 things in their life that are important to them. Write them down in importance, and then block in the hours of whatever you're doing. We'll say like I said, work is always first. That's going to be the most important thing. Second thing, then maybe if you have a family, whatever times you have to spend with those, do those things, and then you're like, right, when am I training? So like when are the times that you can train? Figure out how many times you can actually train, and then that is the plan that's going to suit you. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of people
100%.
don't do that. They come in gung ho and they're like, oh, I want to get in the best shape ever. I want to do 5 sessions a week. Then they try to do that and they realize, fuck, I'm actually not able to train 5 times a week. So
Yeah.
a lot of people, when they can't do that, then peg it there and they're like, oh, sure, I can't do this. Do you know, but you didn't have the right plan in place starting off. So I say, make the plan first and figure out what plan is going to suit you. Don't make your life suit the plan. Make the plan suit you. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of my way of going
100%.
about it.
Yeah, fit it into your lifestyle, and we get that a lot as coaches. A lot of people, Eamon, they're full of enthusiasm when they start out, and
Yeah,
motivation is high. But typically, Evan was even saying something similar, and you know, I definitely know to myself. Usually around that, 2 or 3 week mark into the second week, start of the third week, the honeymoon phase, what I call it, is over. And okay, now it's becoming more of a norm. Now it's becoming more of the reality.
yeah,
What can you do in the long term? So I'd always say in that position, similar to yourself, you're better to build up your confidence and do 3 out of 3 and commit to that than say you did 3 out of 5, because 3 out of 5, it makes you feel like you're at a failing rate. You're only at 60%, whereas at least 3 out of 3, you're out of 100. Amen. But then when it goes to your, because I like your content and I like your gym content, like you're someone who you've got a great athletic build to you. You've got plenty of strength, but you also have the fitness to go with it too. You're not like just too extreme in one or too extreme in the other. Is that something that you kind of program? Well, how do you first of all program for yourself, Eamon, and then for your client?
well, like I was saying, it all depends on the client, but you know, it depends on what goals they have.
Yeah,
But in my opinion, when it comes to clients, and you've probably heard loads of yourself. Oh, I just want to tone up. I want to, I want to lose fat. I want to do this. I will not take on a client unless they're willing to do strength and resistance training. For the fact that it's like I don't believe anybody will get the physique they want by simply just losing body fat on its own. I don't think so. Like if you come to anybody and they'll say, "Oh, I want to," if they had a picture of someone say, "I want to look like this," 9 times out of 10, you're going to say you're not going to get that without building a little bit of muscle. Like nobody just loses fat and then has a great physique. Do you know what I mean? that like it's, in my opinion anyway, that you're not going to get there without building a little bit of muscle along with it. For me myself, like I've been training for 10 years, and it's like, in my opinion, I've enough muscle built. I don't want to get any bigger than I am. I'm happy enough
Yeah.
with regards to my
It's a
size.
good
Like,
complaint to have, man.
yeah, I'm happy with my muscle mass. You know what I mean? If I added an extra kg or so in the next 2 years or the next
Yeah.
year, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? But that's not my focus at the minute. I like staying trim, looking fairly lean all the time. Don't want to
Yeah.
get massive. And like you said, try keep up the fitness as well. Like I play a bit of GAA and stuff. So that tends to look after my fitness. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? That
What's
I
your,
don't.
sorry, I was just gonna ask, what's your current weight and height, Eamon?
So I'm 5'11" on a good day. And I'm somewhere around 84, 85 kgs.
Yeah, deadly.
Somewhere around
Yeah,
there, hitting around 9, maybe 10% body fat, somewhere around
savage.
that. That's what I try
Unreal,
to
man.
keep it.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm obviously happier when my body fat is in the single digits, but if I'm hitting 10 or 11%, I'm not too pushed. You know what I mean? I'm still lean enough. You can see abs and see, see all the things you want to see.
Athletic performance too. It's a nice range because you don't want to go
Yeah,
too low either. It'll diminish
yeah, exactly.
your performance in the gym. Have you ever what are some maybe mistakes, Eamon? Because you've been at it for a while now training. What are some personal mistakes that you would have made on your own journey throughout the years? Is there
Um,
anything at all that stands out?
Yeah, 100%. When I was first starting out, like when I first started, like I say, I'm 84 kgs now. First day I walked into a gym, I weighed myself, I was 62. I was tiny. Like my friends used to make laugh at me. They'd say, like, if I stood sideways, you'd mark me absent. Like, do you know what I mean? I was that sort of a young lad. You know, I was 19 years of age first time I walked into a gym, and I was
Yeah.
62 kgs. You know, but what I did starting off, I was so worried about all the little things. Do you know what I mean? That really didn't matter to someone who was starting out. Do you know what I mean? Like I was really like, oh, I had to eat every 2.5 hours. Do you know what I mean? I had to have a certain amount of protein in every meal. You know, I um had to couldn't eat 2 hours before going to bed. Do you know what I mean? I had to eat within the first half an hour of uh after I trained. You know, all these little tiny things that really didn't matter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Towards like if you're a beginner, and then another thing is it was in my training, I was worried about all the little things as well. Like, you know, when I was starting out, I used to, you know, look up YouTube videos of lads training, or, you know, like all these big bodybuilders, and I'd see all the little, you know, accessory movements that they'd be doing. Do you know what I mean? And then I would go and do all those, and it was like, not that they were pointless, but my time would have been better spent just trying to get stronger in the big lifts. Do you know what I mean? When you're
Yes.
starting out, 100, like I always said, anyone who's a beginner that comes on with me is looking to build muscle, pick 3 exercises for every muscle group. And for the first 6 months, just try get stronger in them. Do you know what I mean? Like pick 3 exercises for your chest, 3 for your shoulders, 3 for your back, maybe 5 for your legs if you're going to include calf raises in that. Do you know what I mean? And it's like just get stronger through them and worry about nothing else for 6 months. Hit your protein goal every day, and then you can maybe start looking into the little things. You know?
Oh man, I'm so with you on all of that. Like honestly, just strength training, it's glamorized online, and maybe sometimes we try to make it, get more views, and you might be sharing the odd exercise here and there that's out of the norm. But for the most part, lifting is pretty boring. You're going to be doing the same 10 or 15 exercises for the rest of your life with very, very minimal variation. A squat could
Yeah,
be a back squat, could be a pause squat at the bottom, it could be a deadlift, it could be an elevated deadlift, it could be a deficit deadlift, but you're still doing a deadlift, man. I'm 100%.
100%. Like I think it was Albert Einstein said that the definition of madness was doing the same thing and expecting different results. I always say muscle building is doing the same thing every day and getting results. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
It's
man,
just,
100%.
that's all it is. Like it's just like Groundhog Day. Do you know what I mean? You just need to do the simple things right, and you'll put on muscle. Do you know what I mean? That's all. Especially when you're starting out. Like maybe like me now. Do you know, I'm 10 years in. I can focus on the micros. Do you know what I mean? That it's like, you know, I have my strength now. It's about the little things. You know, when I look at myself now, it's like, right, what do I want to build up? You know, I want to build up my delts a little bit more. So I'll
Yes,
fucking focus on lateral raises a lot more. Or, you
100%.
know, and then just to keep things interesting more so than that else, I'll do different variations of lat raises, you know, dumbbells, cables with the cuffs, you know, whatever. But all that is just so I'm not bored. Do you know what I mean? It's the same movement, it's the same movement pattern. You're hitting the same muscle, but it's just a different way of doing it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's all it is, really. Do you know?
And it's not the meat and potatoes of your training either. It's not like you're just starting out with bicep, because that's another thing that I'm not sure if you would have seen. I would have done the same in the past. You go to the gym and you just start out with bicep curls and tricep pushdowns. And you might
Yeah,
do like a set of squat at the end because no one cared about building their legs back
the
in the day.
legs. Yeah,
I like
that is the truth.
we
Yeah,
we even used to in our college apartment, Eamon, we used to have I brought up a chin up bar, and every time I would have passed through the door, I would have done some. And I loved protein shakes so much back in the day, like just purely for the taste more than anything else. I used to look forward to gulping one down after a workout. But honestly, just for the sake of having a protein shake, what I might do is one set of chin ups and then justify that, you know what, that was enough training. That was giving me enough of a stimulus for my back, for my arms. I'm going to gulp down a freaking protein shake. So, look, you learn as you go along. Did you make any other kind of maybe silly mistakes that you laugh at now that you look back on?
all loads. Like another one was I used to never take a rest day. You know, I used to just, in my opinion, like the way I used to think about it was, if I'm not training, you know, I'm losing gains. You know what I mean? If I take a week off and I feel a little bit flat, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm skinny again. You know what I mean? Like this kind of thing. Like it didn't take you a week to put it on. You're not going to lose it in a week. Do you know what I mean? That you can take rest days, take deload weeks, take all these things, and they actually benefit you rather than hurt you. Do you know what I mean? Towards back in the day, if I didn't have a pump, I was like, oh, I look terrible. You know what I mean? But it's not the
Yeah,
case. Like,
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just making a slight segue from that then, Eamon. What do you feel are some then misconceptions that people have specifically around fat loss?
um, well, I have a bit of a different approach to a lot of people when it comes to fat loss, especially for myself. Obviously, everybody's different and they like to do it in different ways. Like, there's a new breed of influencer social media people now that are kind of the sustainable way of doing it. Do you know what I mean? That should be sustainable for everybody, you know, part of your life and all of this kind of crack. And that is great for people who have, definitely people who have a lot of weight to lose, because it needs to be sustainable, because they're going to have to do it for a long time. And it's perfect for like general population people not really looking into get into
Yeah,
insane shape. Do you know what I
extreme.
mean? That,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. But for me, like, I'm different. I'm the exact opposite of that for myself, not for my clients. Obviously, everybody is different, but for myself, I'm the type of person, if I see myself getting a little bit fluffy, putting on a little bit of body fat, I'm thinking I want to get this done as quickly as possible. So I will just cut it extreme. Like, I know, we'll say, like, say I play a little bit of GA, so I would never diet during the GA season, but GA season for me is over shortly. My club we're actually in a county final in a couple of weeks, so that'll be the
Yeah.
end of my year then after that. And I'm just going to do 5 weeks, big cut, really, really quickly, like extreme deficit. It'll be hardship. I'll be hungry. I'll make sure I'm hitting me a bit of protein, but that'll be it. It'll be done in 5 weeks and I'm out. You know what I mean? I like dieting should, in my opinion, like, shouldn't be a long-term thing. Do you know what I mean? That, like, you should try get out of the dieting phase as quickly as possible and just get back to enjoying your training. You know what I mean? That's the way
Yeah.
I am anyway.
Oh man, I'm with you on all fronts there. I'm
Yeah,
genuine, and not for my clients now, because sometimes
yeah,
it's what you say and what you do are two different things.
completely.
And
Yeah,
I suppose the fact that we have more skin in the game, we do have a better understanding of it too. But for instance, last time I dieted for a photo shoot, or even for a bodybuilding show, for the photo shoot in Italy, I what I call a fat loss sprint. I just did 4 weeks of a hard deficit, like finished at 1,600 calories, which was miserable.
Yeah.
3,200 my maintenance was at the time. So it was like a 50% deficit. But as you said there, though, a very important point for your listener or listeners, being in a calorie deficit by its technical nature isn't meant to be sustainable because your
Exactly.
body doesn't want to be in a deficit. Your body wants to be at least at maintenance. So if you're in a deficit, you're technically putting your body under stress, you're putting it under strain. So the goal should be, obviously, you can make phenomenal progress if you're actually consistent for a relatively short period of time. Where if you know that in the micro period of time for 12 weeks, we'll say, you're actually unbalanced, because people always talk about balance and balance and balance. But you have to understand what balance is. And the only way you can do that is being out of balance for a bit. And if you're out of balance and you're in a deficit for consistently 12 weeks, I guarantee anyone listen, you will make phenomenal progress rather than saying, I'm going to give myself a year to lose all this weight. And you give it 2 weeks and then you have two bad weekends and you feel like nothing is working. Be consistent for a period of time and then go back to balance once you get there.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant what you just said there, and it makes so much sense. But it's the same, like, because if you do it extreme, we'll say, like the way I'm talking about doing it, but it's only for 10 weeks, it's only for 12 weeks. You'll be so much more able to stick to it. I think if you're doing it sustainably, you're losing a pound a week, you know, maybe even less some weeks, whatever, and you're going on and on and on. And then it's like, all of a sudden you've been doing it for 20 weeks and you're still not where you want to be. You start getting pissed off with it. You start
Do.
getting
Yeah.
frustrated with it. Do you know what I mean? Towards, like you were saying, if you can do it in 10, 12 weeks, just stick to it. Like you were saying, fuck balance. Like, in my opinion, balance is bullshit. Like, if you're chasing something, a goal, whether that's in fitness, physique, your career, family, whatever it is, if you're chasing something, that has to take preference. Do you know what I mean? It's just like balance is kind of not going to happen for you. Like, I'm sure you're running a business as well. It's like, when I was starting, the year I was starting my business and I was working at the same time, that took preference over everything. Do you know what I mean? That was like, I didn't have balance at that time either, but it wasn't because I was dieting. It was because I was spending 36 hours a week on a building site and another 30 trying to build up clients. Do you know what I mean? So that took preference at that time. Balance, it balances for people when they retire.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't like that. I love having something to chase. So it's like, better, I enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? That, like, I'm focused in on something, getting it done, and then, like I say, it's
Yeah.
done. Then, like what you said is absolutely perfect there.
And I'm stealing that quote off past guest in the show, Eamon. His name is Tom Otten. He's living in Dubai. He's a big business over here. But this guy, he's done marathons, he's done ultra races, he's done 256-kilometer runs through the desert, through the ice. He's done it all. And he put it great. He phrased it so brilliant. He said, you have periods of micro imbalance where you're imbalanced for a short period of time, but in the macro, maybe over the full year, it's a macro balance. So you might
Yes.
have block out these 12 weeks where you're actually out of balance. But then by being out of balance for that short period of time, still for the 52, for the other 40 weeks of the year, we'll say, you're balanced, but you'll only appreciate that when you've actually gone through a tough time, as you're saying, or a tough period of time. It might be more than 12 weeks of imbalance. Because anyone who's accomplished anything ever great, as you said, you don't just do it by balancing everything. You do gotta, go all in to some degree, which means you have to sacrifice and give other things that you wish up for at least a small period of time.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's like people saying, like, I have loads of clients that come to me and they say, I drink every weekend. I still want to be able to have eight pints of Heineken every Saturday
Yeah,
night. I'll say that's completely fine, but you're going to be in a fat loss phase for an extra 4 weeks because of that.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So it's up
I
to
love
you.
it.
Like, I think it was Sean Fitzness said one time, or did a video on it one time, where it's like, there's a lot to be said for just going all in on something. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just, like you can go back to doing that or whatever, do you know what I mean? And you'll have your balance after. But if you just go all in on
Amen.
something for the 10 or 12 weeks, just to me, it makes it easier, it makes it faster. It's just better, right? In my opinion, anyways.
And speaking of which, Eamon, something I personally tried to go all in and got to day 42 twice. Day 42, phase one, day 42, phase two, and made the exact same mistake. 75 hard. I forgot to
Oh
take my
yes.
progress picture. And as you know
Ah,
yourself, once you miss one thing at all from the daily checklist, you have to start back from zero again. Now, unfortunately,
yes.
I haven't done a take three yet. You know what? I'm actually the fact that maybe call me a bit of a pussy now because I'm over here in Dubai and the weather is a bit better. But I always found that second workout a day a bit more challenging, particularly if it's lashing rain and you got to put the jacket on. But obviously with the weather here, it might be even a bit easier.
Bit
But
easier,
Eamon,
yeah.
you're someone speaking about imbalance. Like to be fair, anyone 75 hard, it's not a weight loss challenge. Eamon, I'll let you explain what 75 hard is. It's more of a mental resilience, but you're someone who did the full 75 days. So, first of all, for our listeners, why don't you just share what your daily checklist was? And just secondly, I'd love to hear your experience on it.
So the daily checklist, first of all, you have to read 10 pages of a non-fiction book every day. You have to drink 5 liters of water a day, which is very excessive. You had to do 2 workouts a day. Both had to be 45 minutes long, and one had to be outdoors. You had to stick to your diet every day, no cheat meals, no cheat days, anything like that. And like you say, you have to track your progress every single day as well. Um, but when I did it. I remember I started on the 1st of January and did it, and it just happily ended on St. Patrick's Day,
How do you
which
say?
which which was fucking ideal. But it was one of the best things I've ever done. Like you were saying, for mental resilience, like the amount of days where you wake up, and I was still on building site at this time as well. So I did it, but I was waking up in the mornings. I used to do, we'll say, my outdoor workouts in the mornings before I went to work, and then I used to go to the gym in the evenings. Um, and like you were saying, I was starting the 1st of January, so like you know what the weather is like that time of year, and had to get out, had to do it. Like I remember I used to have a mat just in my yard, and I used to did a lot of skipping and like hit workouts and stuff outside, because I hate running. Just like
Yeah,
running the roads is just not for me. It'd be my form of torture. So I just came up. I did do a little bit of running, but not a whole lot. Did little workouts like that outside instead of running, like conditioning sessions and stuff
yeah.
in the mornings. But same thing, like you were saying, there was often mornings the rain just
Oh,
baiting down on top of me. I still got them done, and then into the gym that evening as well. But what I got from it the most, like, got in absolutely ridiculous shape. Don't get me wrong. But I remember, like, you're on about, like, you don't have to be in a deficit to do it. Like, I remember I was eating 4,000 calories a day doing that, and I
you'd
still
want it.
lost, and I still got in
Yeah,
shape. Like, do you know what I mean? I
yeah.
still lost body fat when I was doing it.
Class.
I What I got from it the most though was what I learned. Like what I took from actually training, like I was saying about rest days and stuff like that. I remember my lifts went up for maybe the first 25, 30 days of it. And then I completely plateaued as regards gaining any strength. And then for the last 15 days, my strength went down something drastic.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That I learned that like rest days mean so much when it comes to building muscle and building strength. Do you know? Um, I found it really hard in the middle section of it. I don't know what way
Mm,
you were. Like you say, you failed
yeah,
around day 43. That's where
yeah.
I found was the hardest. The first 25, maybe even 30 days, you're just getting going at it. Do you know what I mean? Like you were
Month
saying about,
one is ticked off. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, exactly. You're delighted, like, oh, I'm doing really well, whatever. Then it starts to get a little bit hard in the middle, but you're like, it's the end of it is still so far away.
yeah,
The
yeah.
last 10 days are fine because you're like, it's only 10 days left.
Yes,
You know what I
yes,
mean?
yeah,
But it's that
yeah.
middle 15 days where you're like, oh, is this worth it? Do you know what I mean? This
I
kind of
know.
crack. And it was during that ice. I added to it myself was cold water therapy every day as
Deadly,
well.
man.
That's when I started that. And I remember, like, I know it wasn't even part of that challenge, but I just did it on top of it for myself. And like
Yeah.
there was days, like I was saying, it was, we'll say, coming into the end of February
Very
around that time, it was still very cold. I remember like
dark
waking up
days.
mornings being like, I cannot be arsed going to do this
Yeah.
now. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I just pushed myself through it. And I remember I got sick in the middle of it as well, and I still got up and got out and did the workouts and stuff. But
Yeah.
I learned so much about myself
You
as
do.
well, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm just even reflecting back now, and again, that period of time for you, you were most certainly out of balance, doing 2 workouts a day, following a diet extremely. But then you look back at it afterwards, and like I think it shows, it just tells the narrative, as you said, that we're all capable of much more than maybe we perceive. And you don't actually appreciate or understand what you're capable of until you put yourself in a situation where you're like, geez, I don't know, can I actually do that? But then you do it and you accomplish it. And all of a sudden, your thermostat and what you feel is capable, it's at 75%. You're going to go from 75 to 90%. And anything you do at 75%, it just becomes much easier because you know what it feels like to hit 90. And you just keep raising your standards, man. So that sounds unreal, Eamon. I'm really like, you've planted a seed now for me that I probably will try start it again at some stage, maybe in the new year, and finish in Paddy's. We'll see.
Yeah, no, it was definitely worth doing 110%. And I had a soup max today I finished, and it was one of the nicest meals I've ever had in my life. So it was nearly worth it just for that on its own.
Yes, yeah, yeah, man. Eamon, this has been a fantastic chat. I really enjoyed everything we spoke about: mindset, about resilience. You spoke about the ice bath there, something you love doing, and I'll let you share your social links at the end. But just to wrap it up, Eamon, we'll do 5 rapid fire Q&A. Let you share your links, and then that will be it for today's episode. Really, really enjoyable
Perfect.
so far, man.
Yeah.
So let's just start out, Eamon. When you hear the word successful, who is the first person that comes to mind?
Oh, Tony McLeavy. You know him, no?
Yeah, he was my bodybuilding coach for the show 8 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm actually in a mentorship with him at the minute, his coaching mentorship.
Yes, yes, yes.
And he just seems to have it all dialed in. I know maybe behind closed doors, doesn't everybody's different, or everybody
Yeah,
can look in a certain way, but he just seems to have, when you talk to him about business and stuff like that. I know, like, you look at his Instagram now, he looks like a lunatic. Do you know what I mean? With the videos and stuff he posts, but when you actually talk to him in person, he is just, in my opinion, just has everything so dialed in, with business, and yeah, like you were saying, just successful in my
man.
opinion,
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. Tony, great guy. Yeah, yeah. Really,
And maybe
really.
it's just because I know him that little bit more. I've met him in
Yeah,
person a few times, and but that, yeah, just from the conversations I've had with him, he knows his stuff.
yeah. For sure, for sure. Okay. Question number 2, Eamon. I probably know the answer to this. What's one new habit you've implemented in the last year?
In the last year, journaling.
Brilliant,
I
brilliant.
did a cold water therapy. I was doing that for a lot before.
Yeah,
We'll say this year I was doing that well before that. But yeah, journaling was something I started this year, and I don't do it every day, but it's kind of a thing. I try to do it as much as I
yeah.
can, and then it's like, if I'm having a shit day or if I'm stressed out about stuff or anything like that, I'll turn to that and I just write down everything in my head and just move
Amen.
on from it. That's one thing that I've done this year. It's really helpful, actually.
Yeah, you know what though, Eamon, we'll go on to number 4, but people will look at the likes of yourself now, and you're strong, you're athletic, you're really fit, but journaling isn't like a woo-woo thing. Like there's a lot of power in actually writing down and speaking what's on your mind. I feel those guys especially, sometimes we're afraid to speak up and share our thoughts, or share our emotions, how we're feeling. There's nothing wrong with, like, no one's ever going to feel like you're 10 out of 10 all the time. Everyone goes through dark times, and it's just how you respond and how you overcome them. And if journaling works for you, or meditation, or cold water, like, who's to say it doesn't?
Absolutely. And like you were saying, like everyone has different emotions. Like everybody, like some people get upset, they get anxiety, all that crack. Like for me personally, I tend to get stressed out very easily, and I get like frustrated with things. Do you know what I mean? And I nearly get angry. Do you know, like, and I get to the point where that's all I can think about. And it's just for me, journaling gets that out of my head.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Write it down. Write down what's
write it
pissing you
down.
off. Write down yeah, exactly. Just sort of gets it out of your head. I find a walk, just going for a walk with no headphones, no podcast,
Yes.
no nothing going on in your head is really good as well.
Yeah.
And just getting it out, get to get it out of you.
Brain dump. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Eamon, if you could go back in time, what's one piece of advice you give to your younger self?
Get off the building site now and go coaching.
Deadly.
100%.
Deadly.
If I could go back, I would have started this 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
would have never done the plastering, you know. And I know
Brilliant.
loads of people say, you know, you wouldn't change anything because you wouldn't be where you are
It's
now
made
if
you
you
who you
didn't
are
do it or
now. Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, but at the same time, it was a lot of hardship for no reason.
Yeah.
You know, the plastering is not an easy job, you know. God, when I think about it, you know, it was
Yeah.
just, to me, it was wasted time doing something
Sure.
I didn't like doing or didn't love doing. That was one piece of advice I give to any person. It will be, if you don't like your job, change it. Because it's
Pursue
like
your passion
you're going to
area.
spend 8 hours a day there. Yeah, if you're going to spend 8 hours a day there for the rest of your life, you know, it has to be something that, at least, maybe you don't
Yeah.
love it, but at least that you like it. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
it's just madness to be stuck doing something that you don't like to do. It's crazy to me, you know, especially nowadays when there's just so many options as regards stuff you can do. Like, you make a career out of anything now.
Yeah. Man, unreal. Okay. Second last one, Eamon. What's one gym exercise that you feel is underrated that most people don't do enough of?
Straight arm pull downs.
Yes, brilliant one. Awesome.
100% people, you know, like, I think lat pull downs are so overrated. Do you know, like your standard lat pull down, I think they're so overrated. I find it very hard to get clients to do them properly so that they're actually engaging their lats. Do you know what I mean? I find, in my opinion anyway, and I find lat pull downs, everybody, or straight arm pull downs, everybody can do them properly.
Yeah,
Everybody hits their
they're
lats up and
class, man.
yeah, really, really well. I think they're so overrated for
Do
building your
you
lats.
like to use the double rope, the straight bar, or the straight arm pull down machine, or a combination of all?
Same thing as like the lateral raises, like I was
Yes.
saying, to change
Yeah.
it up. I actually found a new one that I've never done before, only last week, and I do it with cuffs and it's single
Oh,
arm,
brilliant.
but bringing it across your body, and I've never felt that like it in my lower lats. It's absolutely deadly. I'm actually going to do a video on it next week, so
Do a
keep an
video, man. Yeah, yeah. We'll let
eye.
you post a link. Last question,
Yeah.
Eamon. What do the first 60 to 90 minutes of your day typically look like?
Um, wake up, walk first thing, cold water. Reply to any client messages that I've had from the day. Actually, sorry, wake up, hydration tablet with me supplements. Then I go for a walk for maybe 25, 30 minutes. Um, Back to the house, go do my cold water therapy, and then I'm back, reply to any client messages that I got from the evening before. I'm ready to start my day. I usually fast for the first 3 or 4 hours of the day, so I
Yeah,
don't eat breakfast or anything like that. I won't have a cup of coffee maybe until 2 hours into the day. I try to stay away from
same as that.
caffeine
Yeah.
for the first while. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
What
Standard
time?
enough sort of stuff.
What time do you get up at, Eamon?
I am up at around 6:30 every morning,
Yeah, yeah. And you
something
push
like
your,
that.
yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Eamon, this has been unreal. This has been honestly really, really enjoyable podcast. Really appreciate you coming on now. Very, very just enjoyable conversation to have. And for any of our listeners who currently don't follow you or want to learn a bit more about you, where's the best place to send them, Eamon?
Instagram, probably. I'm best at replying to my DMs on Instagram. For some strange reason, my Facebook has blown up in the last few weeks. It's absolutely mental on there at the minute. I've gained like 50,000 followers in 2 weeks or something. It has
Deadly.
been mad. But I'm very bad to keep up with the messages on it from people. But if anyone wants to get in contact with me, my handle is the same on everything: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's just Eamonn Duff, no spaces.
Eamon
You know,
spelled with two N's, not one N. One, two.
two N's,
So
yeah.
Eamonnduff.
No, EAMONNDUFF.
Yeah, perfect.
On all platforms,
I'll
YouTube.
post. Yeah, perfect. I'll post a link to your IG in the show notes, Eamon. That's
Yeah,
awesome, man.
100%. Yeah.
Final question, because this is the Lifestyle Lifter show, Eamon. What's your definition of living a successful lifestyle?
To be honest, mine is literally just not being worried. Do you know what I mean? Not having any worries. Like, loads of people talk about money and all that crack. As long as you've enough money that you're not worried about paying your electricity bill, I reckon you're all right. And it's just like enjoying things after that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, doing the things, like my oldest brother said to me one time. He said, like, find the things you love doing and do them often. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I do. I love training. That's so I train as much as I can.
Oh man,
All different
amen.
types
Yeah,
of training, all that cracks. That's it. Just as long as you're not
got
worried
it.
about, don't have any worries or stresses, you're fine, in my opinion.
I love it. Eamon Duff, phenomenal chat. Thanks again for coming on. This has been amazing. For anyone who got value from the show, please make sure that you are liking, subscribing, Spotify and Apple. It does help the show reach more people. And hopefully we'll have some more fantastic guests just like Eamon come on every single week. Eamon, thanks again for your time. This has been awesome, man. We'll catch you later.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.